Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos. So the big question is, do you think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, can turn things around at Manchester United? We are all aware, that we are enjoying our worst start to a Premier League season for 3 decades. We've only registered 10 points from a possible 27 so far. So we're 9 games into the season, we've won 2, we've drawn 4, and of course we have lost 3. But like I mentioned, it was a good result yesterday for Manchester United. Drawing 1-1 at home to Liverpool. I'm satisfied with the result. I'm disappointed, that we did concede late on. But I think prior to that, I'm actually happy with the performance. Like I mentioned, it wasn't the best of games. It didn't really have a lot of chances in it. I thought there were dominant periods, that Manchester United did have, and like I mentioned, the likes of Rashford, Pereira, and Daniel James, I think caused them a lot of problems for Liverpool at the back. But yeah, it was a really good result, and now hopefully this result can build a platform for Manchester United, because obviously if Liverpool had won the game, obviously they would have equalled Manchester City's record of 18 wins on the bounce in the Premier League. So I'm just thankful that Liverpool did not win the game. But like I mentioned, we were a massive underdogs, going into the game, and I do credit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, in the aspects that he tactically, got it spot on. He did tactically get it spot on. A lot of people this season, including myself, have been criticising, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tactics. So I do believe, he could turn things around at the football club. If he is to be given the time, that he's demanding. And I think, if Solskjaer is to do, different elements that can come together, then maybe, his things will turn around for him at Manchester United, and that, because we do know for the majority of this season that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been going with a 4-2-3-1 formation, but obviously we know that 4-2-3-1 formation obviously now hasn't been working, but maybe he does need to be given more time at the football club, because obviously reports emerged out before the Man United Liverpool game. It was actually during the international break that he said he could have been sacked if we'd have suffered a heavier defeat to Liverpool yesterday. It wasn't assured he would have been sacked. It just said there was a possibility of him being sacked, because obviously we lost 3-1 to Liverpool last season at Anfield, and obviously that was enough to end Jose Mourinho's tenure at the football club. But I said anyway, us getting rid of Solskjaer now or before Christmas, wouldn't solve a lot of problems at Manchester United anywhere. I know the vast majority of Manchester United fans, like I said, demanding him out of the football club. Obviously, you've got certain Manchester United fans that say, we should still back him. We should still give him at least a couple more windows, to see who else, of course, we can recommend in to the football club, because we are all aware that further more investment is needed in the squad. I credit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He did recommend 3 good players to the squad during the summer. We spent around £145 million, which is a substantial amount. It was good in the aspects during the summer that we did address some of the problematic areas, but the 3 signings we brought in, which was obviously Dan James, Al Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire, have all enjoyed fantastic starts to their Manchester United careers. And you can quite frankly say anywhere, Solskjaer's still in the process of rebuilding this Manchester United team, because obviously analysing the majority of this Manchester United team, it isn't Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's anywhere. The vast majority of this team is actually Jose Mourinho's, because Jose Mourinho obviously recommended 11 players into the football club, and Solskjaer now obviously is still inheriting the vast majority of them. But I probably believe, that, Solskjaer, will still be here by January. I think, Man United have assured, that he will be given money to spend in January. And I think in January, we'll be looking to sign 1 or 2 players. Because I did say, I think we'll do the vast majority of our transfer business next summer and that. But we are all aware that a massive rebuild is needed at the football club. Obviously, Solskjaer recently insisted that he thinks he's the right man for Manchester United, and he's never felt that the job's too big for him. So he's, in that aspect, he's compatible to Ed Woodward, because Ed Woodward's obviously has got the same perception as Solskjaer, because Ed Woodward is still backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer 100%. But despite our draw to Liverpool, my perception, like I mentioned, hasn't changed on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and that I still don't think he is the right man for Manchester United. Like I mentioned, I've got too many elements of concerns about him. Like I said, he hasn't got any intuition on how to manage a big club like Manchester United, and I could be proven wrong. Like I mentioned, I do credit him for yesterday. He got his tactics in that absolutely spot on. I don't think he did one thing wrong yesterday. Maybe he brought Martial on a bit too soon, but prior to that, I think he got it all right yesterday in the game against Liverpool. But Solskjaer hasn't got any intuition on how to manage, a big club like Man United. His pedigree, is not really that good. Obviously, before he came to Manchester United, obviously he was at Molde, and he won a couple of Norwegian titles at Molde, and before he was at Molde, he was at Cardiff, and Solskjaer had a really short tenure with Cardiff. I think he managed around 30 games for Cardiff. Did Solskjaer and that. He managed around 30 games, but obviously, ended up, getting sacked from Cardiff because obviously, he did get relegated. And some Man United fans feel, he could replicate at Manchester United, what he did with Cardiff. And, I can't see that happening, to be quite honest with you, because, obviously the club's too big to get relegated. There's too much money in that into the football club. And like I mentioned, we haven't been relegated since 1974, which is over 40 odd years ago now. But, we're still only early on in the season. We're only 9 games into the season. There is plenty of time to turn things around. Something else that needs to improve with the football club as well. We need to start scoring more goals. We need to have, we don't seem to be having that clinical element at the moment. We've only, delivered 10 goals so far in, 9 league games so far this season. And obviously, that's nowhere near good enough to our standards. We only managed 53 goals in the Premier League, last season. And this season, we've scored 1 goal in every game that we have scored in prior to the Chelsea game on the opening day of the season, when we did win by 4-0. These certain games, this season that arguably Manchester United should have won, because actually in a few games this season we've actually played quite well, but we just haven't been ruthless enough in front of goal, and that was a problem of course last season. But yeah, and we are sitting 13th at the moment. We're 13th in the league. We're sitting just 2 points above relegation. So we need to start winning games fast. I think this season, I think we'll probably finish 6th, maybe 7th, maybe 8th. That's where I think we'll finish. I don't think we're going to finish in the top 4 this season. I've already disregarded that. There's possibility top 4 could still happen, because there's still a long way to go yet. Solskjaer's obviously aware of the expectations. He, has to exceed at Manchester United if his tenure, is to last. Obviously, our expectations will be that top 4. Because obviously, in that aspect, we want to get back into the Champions League. Because obviously, last season we did fail to qualify for the Champions League. But Solskjaer, I think, he's also got a lot of honesty about him, so I do credit him in that aspect. He says if Man United do finish out of the top 6 this season, he figures that, he will be sacked by the football club. This is what, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, did say. I think the lowest we've finished is around 7th since the Alex Ferguson era. I think we finished 7th, was it, back under the David Moyes era, where we finished 6th last season. But yeah, I want Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, tenure to last at Man United anyway, because obviously we all love him. He's a club legend and that. And this is why I think this is the only reason why mainly the board are sticking with Solskjaer at this present time. This is the only reason that we are sticking with him. And even if Solskjaer is given the time, that he's demanding, I still don't think he'll do any good with the football club. I still don't think, he will do any good. But the board have softened their stance, like I mentioned, because obviously, Solskjaer, was a club legend. Obviously, and he was a great player for Manchester United for 11 years. He flourished under Alex Ferguson's guidance, so he has got that proven pedigree as a player. He just hasn't, really got it as a manager. But some of the blame does stem from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, due to our disastrous, bad start to the season. That some of the blame does stem from him. But I think the board have to take a lot of responsibility, because like I keep mentioning, I think the vast majority of the blame does stem from the board, because like I said, the board, you can pinpoint your finger to the board, with their poor recruitment and, with their poor selection of managers for several years, and this is what this is why I said, the board have been a liability for several years. You're getting certain Manchester United fans saying that, we should keep Solskjaer, get rid of our current board and recommend a new board in. The board, I think, you need to assure structural changes at the football club. Whether they can assure these structural changes or not, I do not know. I think one thing the board did assure is that Solskjaer will be safe for Man United for at least this season, because I think the board did realise that they didn't back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer enough, during the course of the summer. Also, to Ed Woodward, I think quite a lot of the blame does stem from him. Obviously, the blame stems from a lot of the players, because a lot of them have been underperforming this season. Like I mentioned yesterday, against Liverpool, there was some really, really good individual performances. Like I mentioned, Rashford did really, really well. Good to see him get his name on the score sheet. I think that's his, is it his fourth goal this season for Man United, or third goal this season? I think it was his first goal since the game against Chelsea on the opening day of the season. And yeah, he did play really, really well, did Marcus Rashford. A lot of people obviously say, he's overrated, and he can score against the big teams, can Rashford. He's proven that, but he needs to start doing it, more against the, average sides and the poor sides. But yes, for me, Rashford is still the long-term solution for Man United. It was a good inviting cross, by the way, by Daniel James. It was good to see him, provide an assist. Obviously a lot of Liverpool fans saying the goal should have been ruled out anywhere. Obviously because there was, like I mentioned on the reaction, there was an incident involving, Lindelof and Origi before the build-up to the goal. There was a lot of talk saying that, Lindelof did foul Origi. So Rashford's goal was controversial. Obviously Liverpool's had a goal disallowed. Obviously, people are saying Liverpool should have won the game because that Sadio Mane goal, shouldn't have been allowed. So VAR, did intervene, quite a few times in the game. But I thought the point, was fair, to be quite honest with you. But, our record, I said this season our record needs to improve against the top six sides. But so far, we've beaten Chelsea 4-0 because quite frankly, they're a top six side, even though they're not as good as they used to be. We got a draw against Arsenal 1-1, and we got a draw against Liverpool. So we haven't, lost to a top side yet this season in the Premier League, which is obviously very, very good news. Yeah, so Solskjaer has obviously, been at Manchester United now, overall for around 10 months. He's been at the football club just under a year. And analysing it, we know that Solskjaer's enjoyed difficult 7 months with Manchester United, 7.5 months or whatever, because obviously since he's got the job permanently, everything has seemed to have all gone wrong. Obviously it did get revealed since he's had the job permanently, we have the 4th worst record in the Premier League. It did say that it's only Brighton, Southampton, Watford that have got worse records than Manchester United. But yeah, he's been permanent manager now for around 7 months, nearly 8 months now. Obviously Solskjaer first came in, as you all know, as the interim manager of the football club, and he was interim manager for 3 months, but in that 3-month period, I thought Solskjaer did really, really well. The results were good, the performances were good. He got the best out of these group of players, and he exceeded expectations. But he won 14 games out of 19, and he even won his first 8, or was it 9? But, since he got the job permanently, everything has just seemed to have all gone wrong, basically. But did really, really well, when he was the interim manager. And I think, a mistake what the football club did make, and we've made quite a few mistakes, over the years. In the last 6-7 years, we made a few mistakes. But one of the mistakes was giving Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the job. We should have never given him the job. I think, to be fair, I think the club have put Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in a very, very difficult position. But if Solskjaer, can make the right recruitment in January and next summer, then that's a step forward, isn't it? And I said in the next 3 to 4 windows anywhere, our recruitment has got to improve, because analysing our recruitment policy, it isn't too good, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. And Solskjaer worked out his policy, during the course of the summer. He did say, he wanted to recruit young British players to Manchester United, and I think he wants to stick to the same policy, in January and of course next summer. Like I mentioned, though, it's not always about spending big on players and getting them Glasgow players, because we've spent big in the last 6 or 7 years. I suggested at the start of the summer, we should orchestrate on, being sensible of our recruitment. Yeah, but like I mentioned, at the end of last season, and I said at the start of this season that, we expected this season not to be title challengers, or we expected obviously, not to win the league this season because obviously, analysing our squad, it isn't good enough, to challenge or win the league at the moment. Like I mentioned, a massive rebuild is needed, but we didn't expect, to be in this position, that we that we are currently sitting in now. That's obviously, the ruin part. But I do believe eventually, things will turn around. Well, I'm hopeful anywhere. But yeah, in my opinion, I still don't think Solskjaer's the right man for Man United. Obviously, he's our fourth permanent manager since the Alex Ferguson era. Obviously, we've already sacked, Moyes, who lasted only 10 months at Man United. We sacked Louis van Gaal, who lasted just over a year. And we sacked Jose Mourinho, who lasted 2.5 years at the football club. He's actually the manager that's had the longest tenure with the club since the Alex Ferguson era. And I said, we haven't really, got the structure to keep sacking managers. But yeah, they'll probably give him the time that he obviously does need. They'll give him the time, of course, that he does need. But like I mentioned, you can see the deficiencies in the squad. You can identify the areas where Man United need to strengthen up without a shadow of a doubt. I think we definitely need a midfielder. Some people believe, we need two central midfielders because we're missing creative impetus in that midfield, like I do keep mentioning. I think we definitely need a striker. We need someone, that can assure us goals, someone that can be effective in the box and that without a shadow of a doubt. Because, like I mentioned, we do look very exposed in that attacking line. Especially following the dismissal of Romelu Lukaku and Alexis Sanchez. Obviously, we've had Martial injured. He's just recovered from injury, which is very, very good news. He'd missed the last, was it 5 or 6 league games, before yesterday, when he came on. So it's good to see him back. Obviously, Rashford, was injured, not too long ago. But yeah, we have had a lot of injuries this season as well, so you can also take that into account. Obviously, with the injuries we've had, obviously, in that aspect, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has had to make alterations in the squad. But yeah, and some Man United fans believe, it was a shame to see Romelu Lukaku leave, and we know in the end Lukaku had to leave anywhere because obviously he initially lost his place in the team. But like I mentioned, Lukaku enjoyed 2 good seasons at Manchester United. I thought he was, good in his first season. He didn't really replicate that though in his second season. Lukaku, in total for the football club, Lukaku scored 42 goals in 96 games for Manchester United in all competitions, and he was well Premier League proven. He had a great pedigree in the Premier League. But he had to basically go. I was happy with the money we generated from his departure, and that we basically recouped the money that we paid for him from Everton back in 2017. But yeah, he scored in some pivotal games for Manchester United. Did Lukaku, and I know we had element of concerns about him. He was a big game bottler, didn't really score against the big teams. Obviously his first touch concerned a lot of United fans. But basically, we need to recruit a replacement for him. With Sanchez, I think it was the right choice to get rid of him, obviously, because, he endured, 18 difficult months at Manchester United, did Sanchez. So I am glad, we got rid of him, despite the fact that he's on loan with Inter Milan. There is no obligation, obviously, for Inter Milan to buy him at the end of the loan. With an option to buy or whatever. But I don't know where he'll go when he's been on loan with Inter Milan. Inter Milan actually could make, they could have further negotiations with Man United at the end of the loan to try and obviously make the deal permanent. Obviously, Inter Milan will probably have to pay more money. But yeah, despite the fact that he's on loan, the club are still paying the majority of his wages. I still believe we're paying Sanchez around 300 grand a week. Because when he was at Man United, we were paying him around 400. But with the image and bonus rights involved, it risen up to around £500,000 a week. And I said his wages were having a really bad effect on the football club anyway, totally affecting our wage structure. But yeah, we're still paying the vast majority of his wages anyway. But yeah, Man United definitely need a striker. And don't forget, for the majority of the summer, we was in search for a right winger. Some people, believe that we do need a left back. But yeah, definitely, And I said I think we need at least 5 to 6 more signings, maybe even more than that, if we are to be back, to being a competitive elite level football club, and if we are to be, future title contenders. But like I keep mentioning, reflecting on the size and the potential of this football club, we should be much more of a commanding position, than winning now, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. But yeah, I wanted to give you some news as well about Alex Tuanzebe. He's got a hip injury, is Alex Tuanzebe. So this means he could miss the game on Thursday night against Partizan Belgrade. Depends how severe the injury is. I don't even know the extent of the injury, to be quite honest with you. It actually confirmed before the game that Tuanzebe, was injured. So obviously, Rojo had taken his place in the Man United team. So Tuanzebe, of course, was, supposed to be playing. So that's another injury we've got. Obviously, we know Luke Shaw's still injured. He's out with a hamstring problem, is Luke Shaw. He hasn't played since the 2-1 home defeat to Crystal Palace. And, talking about Luke Shaw, I think he's, except the injuries he's sustained, because he's actually injury prone, not to the same extent as Eric Bailly in that, because obviously Eric Bailly has sustained a lot of injuries as a Man United player. But I think, Luke Shaw, prior to his injuries, like I said, and prior to the bad spell he had under Mourinho, I think he's had a pretty decent career with Man United. Don't forget, he won the double player of the season last season, reflecting on his impressive performances. But I think he's close to regaining full fitness. I'm not too sure. I have to look it up more. Jones has obviously been injured. De Gea was injured, but obviously now not, which is very, very good news. Very good news. I expected him to miss the game yesterday, De Gea, because don't forget, on Tuesday, he had to, Tuesday of last week, last Tuesday that is, he had to withdraw from, the international squad. He had to withdraw from international duty, due to this leg injury he had sustained. He came off in the second half injured, and there was obviously huge doubts before the game yesterday that he was going to miss the game. That's what it basically said, but obviously he didn't. So if he hadn't missed the game yesterday, it would have been his first game he'd missed in almost 7 years at Manchester United. But, I'm glad, he did play, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, it's good that his injury, was not too severe. And Wan-Bissaka obviously came back into action. A lot of people believe that Wan-Bissaka has been our most consistent signing. I will agree on that aspect. He actually has, to be quite honest with you. Before yesterday, he missed the last 2 league games. He missed the last 3 in all competitions with illness because he's been out with tonsillitis. Lingard's been out with a hamstring problem. I think, when he recovers from injury, I think, he also needs to step up to the plate, does Jesse Lingard, without a shadow of a doubt, because, like I mentioned, reflects on his status at the football club, he should be putting much more better performances out. And at the moment, I think Andres Pereira's a better, solution, than Jesse Lingard. Pereira's had a good couple of games this season. There's still improvements needed in his game, don't get me wrong. But, he has played on the right-hand side quite a few times this season as Andres Pereira. You've got Pogba injured. He's missed 6 of the last 8 games for Manchester United as Paul Pogba. Obviously, with this ongoing foot injury that has been surrounding the player for a matter of weeks. I think when I read up last week before the Liverpool game, the fitness staff did actually fear that he could be out until the end of this month with this injury. And obviously, that's bad news, because obviously we've got games coming up thick and fast. We've got Partizan Belgrade on Thursday. Maybe could Paul probably be possibly available for that. But obviously, more news will update. Then we've got, Norwich coming up. Don't forget, there was a lot of reports, the other week saying if we, fail to beat Norwich, obviously the pressure will mount on more on Solsjaker. I did actually say that, he actually could be sacked as Man United manager, if we don't beat Norwich. But yeah, so Pogba's obviously, out. Fosu-Mensah, don't forget, he's still out with injury. So yeah, we have still got quite a few players out with injuries. Good to see that quite a few now have, regained full fitness and are back in action, which is good news. Hopefully with Martial, he can, avoid sustaining any more injuries and that. And I think if he can do well this season for us, because I said he enjoyed a great start, this season before he sustained that injury, Anthony Martial. Like I said, he's better in the number 9 Martial. He's more effective in that, number 9 role. So he's good in that central position. That's where he's more effective, like I mentioned. I know he predominantly plays out wide on the left, but he's more effective in that central position. But you've got Martial can play number 9. You've got Rashford that can play number 9, like he was yesterday. You've got you've got Mason Greenwood that can play number 9 and that. But, for me, Martial is the standout player. Martial's produced 50 goals for the football club. In the 4 years he's been here, he's now into his 5th season as a Manchester United player, Martial. He has been here since the Louis Van Gaal era. But like I mentioned, I credit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well because, he has got a lot of trustworthy in his young upcoming players. He has got a lot of trustworthy in them. Like I mentioned, the vast majority of the young upcoming players have been given their chances this season and that. Like I do keep mentioning, I have got element of concerns about certain young upcoming players. Maybe we should consider loaning them out. Don't forget, there was a speculation the other week, saying that, we could consider, or we are going to, loan Chong, Gomez and, Jimmy Garner out in January and that. But, some of them do need to be loaned out because maybe they're not good enough to represent Man United, maybe they need more experience or maybe, it'd be beneficial for their career or maybe they're just not getting the chance, the opportunities at Manchester United, as they basically, would like. Like I mentioned, Chong has only played a couple of times this season, hasn't played much. I don't think Jimmy Garner's yet played this season for us, of what I can remember. Angel Gomez has played a couple of times. But I can assure this, I think definitely Mason Greenwood will become a success at the football club. He will become a success. Mason Greenwood, in the games he's played in this season, I think he's been very impressive. Mason Greenwood obviously has not yet made, he's not played from the start in the Premier League. I think he's made about 6 substitute appearances in the Premier League so far this season. Only turned 18 years of age at the beginning of this month. But he needs to be given more chances without a shadow of a doubt. This is something also Solskjaer needs to do, is to, give Mason Greenwood a bit more time and that. I think he definitely will be in line to play against Partizan Belgrade. But it's impossible to leave him out of the team, Mason Greenwood, when he does keep scoring and he does keep the consistency up. And Tuan Zebe, he will become a success at the club because I think in the games he's played in this season, he's been very, very impressive as Tuan Zebe. He has been very, very impressive in that. Like I mentioned with Fred and McTominay, my thoughts are compatible, on them two, because I don't know if them two are the long-term solutions for Manchester United. I don't know if they are the long-term solutions for Man United. I think, these question marks around them, can they keep the consistency up? Arguably, I think McTominay has been better than, Fred this season. McTominay has actually, been a first-team regular this season in that midfield, but he's deserved to keep his place in the team, reflecting on his impressive performances. McTominay and Fred looked so exposed in the 1-0 defeat to Newcastle, but I thought that both of their performances, did improve yesterday, to be quite honest with you. I have got element of concerns about Fred, again, I don't know if he can, succeed as a Man United player. I hope I'm wrong. The club did overpay for him, I will agree on that, but we're obviously, known for overpaying for players. We paid just under £50 million for Fred last summer. And some people saying he isn't good enough for the club, and, I think we need to give him more time. Because don't forget, take into account, he's only been at the football club, since last summer as Fred. So yeah, for me, he does need more time. I know he hasn't performed to the level, as he did do at Shakhtar Donetsk, because analysing him at Shakhtar Donetsk, I thought he was an exceptional player, to be quite honest with you. But they're not world-class midfielders, McTominay and Fred. This is why we need to get 1 or 2 world-class midfielders in January or next summer. We'll try and at least get 1, midfielder in January. But I think any of our midfield options anywhere are much better solutions than Matic, to be quite honest with you. And he's one of the problematic players at the football club. And like I mentioned, despite the fact a lot of players have left since Solskjaer's arrival, I still believe, these more problematic players at the football club that need to be moved on in January and, perhaps next summer. So, yeah, definitely more players do need to leave the football club, in my opinion, without a shadow of a doubt. But, it is worse, at the moment under the Solskjaer era, than what it was, under the Jose Mourinho era. It's even worse, than it was under the David Moyes era, to be quite honest with you. Because it's worse than it was under the Jose Mourinho era. And, we had Jose Mourinho, obviously, for 2.5 years, as you all know, we had him for 2.5 years. Like I mentioned, I've given you the reasons why it didn't work out under him, because Jose Mourinho's, philosophy at the club wasn't right. He didn't have the right mentality at that time. The transfer strategy wasn't right. He had bad disputes with the board and bad disputes with some of the top players. The board weren't backing the signings that he wanted to recommend into the football club last summer. So these are the reasons why it didn't work out under him. Mourinho obviously spent just under £400 million at Manchester United. He did win the Europa League and League Cup in his first season. Credit him for that. But I think we should have, we got Mourinho in too late. I think we should have, you could arguably say we should have appointed him in, after the Alex Ferguson era. We should have appointed him in. And like I mentioned earlier on in the video, the club have made mistakes in the last, 6 or 7 years. We've made some mistakes. One of the mistakes again, Ferguson. He's only made one mistake, Ferguson, and that was ever recommending David Moyes in. He should have recommended Jose Mourinho in over David Moyes. Jose Mourinho should have been his preference. And if we'd got Jose Mourinho in after Alex Ferguson, then you could arguably say, it could have been a different, scenario with Manchester United. It could have been a different scenario. I think, also another mistake from the football club, and letting Ander Herrera go. We know that was another mistake because we shouldn't let him go, because you could arguably say he was one of our best players since the Alex Ferguson era. He was one of our best players since the Alex Ferguson era, and Herrera obviously was at Man United 5 years, and I can say he had 3.5, 4 good years out of the 5 years, and it infuriated me more that we let Ander Herrera go on free transfer. It really did infuriate him, but we're being known for doing that. Overpaying for players, and then when it comes to letting them go, we let them go for next to nothing, basically. But yeah, that was another mistake by the football club. And I mentioned, a lot of money's being spent at Manchester United. A lot of money's being spent at the club. Nearly £150 million under Solsjaker, just under £400 million under Mourinho, over £200 million under Van Gaal, around £60 million under David Moyes. So it's around £700-800 million that Manchester United have spent on players, in the last 6 or 7 years, in all the managerial eras since the Ferguson era. So that's just under £1 billion, and that's not taking into account, what was spent under Alex Ferguson. But yeah, like I mentioned, we know in this generation, that, the boards are a lot more ruthless now. Obviously they don't mainly give managers time, that they would like. But obviously back in the old generation, managers did get the time, that they would have liked. Because obviously it happened with Alex Ferguson, didn't it? Take into account, he didn't win out in his first 4 years at the football club. When we recommended him in from Aberdeen in 1984, 1985, was it? He didn't win out in his first 4 years, and he was on the verge of getting the sack. I think he was actually at that current time 1 game away from getting the sack, but he didn't. Then look what he went and accomplished. We had 20 odd years of success under him. Obviously, the vast majority of our silverware won. Obviously, came under Alex Ferguson, because obviously won around 38 trophies under Alex Ferguson, as you all know. But, like I mentioned, we're never going to be the team that we was under Ferguson. We're never going to be the team that we was under Ferguson. No manager can invoke Ferguson's legacy at the club, especially Solskjaer can't do that. And I did say, I'm hopeful that this team at this day and age can replicate what the team did under Ferguson. But obviously, I know that's not going to happen. There's actually still a couple of players here from the Ferguson era. There's Young still here. Young's been here. 8 years. He's now in his 9th season at Man United. You've got Jones. He's been here since the Ferguson era, and he's been here this same amount of time, more or less, than Ashley Young. And you've got De Gea as well. And, he's been here, I think, around the same amount of time as Young and Jones. So they've all been long servants at the football club. But like I mentioned with Ferguson, he did develop a lot of young players as well. So, I do credit him for that. He did, control a lot of the transfer policies and all that. But we haven't only spent big on players. We've also got players on big contracts and that. Like I mentioned, you've got Rashford on 300 grand a week just at the age of 21, not nearly 22 now. You've got Martial on 200 grand a week. You've got Lingard on just around 100 grand a week. You've got Paul Pogba on 290 grand a week. You've got Harry Maguire on 200 odd grand a week. You've got De Gea on 375 grand a week, obviously the highest paid goalkeeper in the world. So yeah, we have got our players on big contracts. Definitely will take that into account. I will take that into account. But Solskjaer, obviously, wants to bring that winning mentality back to the club, and he wants to bring that fear factor back to the football club. I've got doubts about it, and we have got big ambitions for the future, and those ambitions is to obviously get back to being competitive and obviously winning silverware and that. But it is obviously going to take a massive rebuild, to get us back, to where we do want to be. As I think you are all aware. I also credit Solsjaker for what he did, before, the game against Liverpool, obviously taking a dig at Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp, obviously, saying that it's obviously not going to take us, 30 years to win another Premier League title. It's not, I know we haven't won it since 2013, the Premier League, so we haven't won it nearly 4 or 7 years, but it's nowhere near to the extent of how, long Liverpool haven't won it. Liverpool have actually never won the Premier League. They've never won it, since it got formed in 92, or was it 93? They haven't won it all in all for 3 decades. They've won, obviously, 18 all the first divisions. But some people believe if, we stick with Solskjaer, he can emulate into like a Jurgen Klopp or something like that, because don't forget, when Jurgen Klopp first got recommended in Liverpool, he did really, really bad, and I think it actually got revealed that his record in his first 29 games were as bad or were worse than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first 29 games at Manchester United. And obviously Jurgen Klopp, got the time, that he'd like, and look what he's done now. He has turned it around there with Liverpool. He has done really, really well. But so maybe he does need more time at the football club, like I mentioned. Solskjaer, like I mentioned recently, defended the club's structure. Don't forget, he defended the club's structure. He's happy with the club's current structure. He basically insisted, that we don't need a new director of football, and that this is what Solskjaer said: we don't need a new director of football. Obviously, for the majority of the summer, was in search for a new director of football and that. And, maybe if we'd have got that director of football at the beginning of the summer, then maybe in that aspect, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, would have been back to more. But we didn't. There was some former Man United players linked with the directors as well during the summer. Obviously, there was recent speculation the other week, actually. There was a lot of talks about Edwin van der Sar coming in. But I did say if we were to recommend a new director of footballing, it would be, very, very beneficial to recommend someone who knows the traditions of the club, someone, of course, who knows the club inside out, and someone, who would be reliable to, obviously, our transfer business. And I think, Edwin van der Sar, would be definitely the right candidate, in my opinion. He would be the right candidate, in my opinion. And like I said, there has been a list of managers on our agenda, who actually, could replace Solskjaer at the club. I still think Solskjaer is under pressure, don't get me wrong, even though we didn't lose to Liverpool yesterday. He's nowhere near to being sacked, that's being assured, but I still think he's under pressure, by still a lot of Manchester United fans. Obviously, like he updated you, there was a lot of talks about Max Allegri, the other week. Obviously, he's actually, the club's top priority to replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Obviously, it said during the international break that Max Allegri, was in negotiations with Manchester United, about his salary. It said what salary, he would earn if he did come Manchester United's next boss, and it did say around 6.5 million a year, or maybe even more than that. Like I mentioned, he did demand, quite a few things. He did demand quite a few things. He said he wanted to bring Mario Mandzukic and Emre Can with him to the football club. He also wanted to recommend Patrice Evra as one of the coaching staff. This is what he had said, Max Allegri, and reportedly he has been learning English quite recently in preparation for his potential move. But I think he did say he was prepared to come and take the mantle on at Manchester United. He did say a couple of weeks ago that he'll only come to Manchester United if he is to be assured to be given the job within the next few weeks. But I can't see him coming in just as yet anyway. Maybe sometime in the future, or maybe someone else will come in, because I think Solskjaer, will still be at the football club in January. Well, I'm not 100% because nothing's assured, but I think he probably will be, to be quite honest with you. They'll give him probably another couple of windows to see who else he can recommend in to the football club. But and there's been, obviously, like I mentioned, other managers on our agenda. But yeah, but do you think, Solskjaer now can turn things around at Man United? If he can, if he can keep now, if he can tactically get it right now every game and stuff, and he can try different sort of formulas, do you think, these couple of different elements, can, come together and, make him turn things around at Manchester United, and that is the question. But we'll see. Going to have a look at some of the team news anyway. For the Partizan Belgrade Man United game. Obviously, it is on Thursday. That game, this upcoming Thursday. So, going to look a bit of news about the game, like I mentioned. Yeah. So anyway, guys, drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.